I like that.
Okay, we are live.
Okay. We'll stop our chattering over here and get serious. Call this meeting to order. HPC meeting of, today is what, the 25th, right? February 25th.
Right.
Let's have a roll call, starting with Jeff.
Jeff Howes here.
John Sampen here,
Will Roddy Bush here?
Heidi Rieger.
and Christina Tracy has resigned as of last meeting, so we are now down to 4 for the moment. So all members are present today. Approval of minutes.
The only correction I saw was on a member absent was to delete John Sampen.
Oh, was that? Huh.
I mean,
Okay.
he's up and present, but I think it just carried over from the December.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So Christina and Tracy was the only
Catching
absent.
that, yeah. Heidi, anything on the minutes?
Yes, yes, hold on. Trying to get my, let's see, sorry, page 2C, under letter C, it just says, Rieger believes that nothing will stand in the way of the historic designation. I don't know how, that's true, but I don't know, the wording sounds a little strong.
If that's the wording you want. Okay.
Yeah,
Would you like to suggest a?
that it should, that everything is in order
Could
and
we move forward or?
to move forward with it. Just a little softer language, I
Right,
guess.
right. Okay.
And then on the next page, and the first paragraph under D, it says the first residence in Bowling Green build, it says, instead of built. So it's just a spelling. Built by Elijah Martindale. So you want to change the D to a T.
Okay.
And the last sentence in that paragraph, I just think the last sentence needs to be reworded. It says, after a question, Saylor clarified that the version of the property inventory form she receives will be the master. It doesn't really refer to the question, so it's kind of vague and confusing. So I think it could just read, after a question, Saylor clarified that she will keep track of the master form inventories, emails, or whatever information that was submitted,
Okay.
just to make it a little more understood.
What page is that?
On
Page 3, under D, the first paragraph, last sentence of D.
So after a question about which version of the property inventory should be regarded as the master version.
Yeah, something like that would be good.
Because we were talking about emails going back and forth and who was keeping track
Right.
of what. And
Okay, anything else?
yes. Page 4, under agenda item 7, lobby visitation, as to clarifying, like the first sentence says, Rose Drain explained that it was the consensus of BG's song that South Main School could be developed as a low-income or modestly priced, possibly senior housing. I think it might be more clear if you said, Rose Drain explained that it was the consensus of BG's song that they would like South Main School to be developed. 'Cause I think it was just their opinion. And that the playground could be donated by the owner to Habitat for Humanity. It just says they could be donated to Habitat. It's a little more clarification. If it was who's donating, Song donating, no, they don't own it. The owner would have to donate it, so.
figure out.
And one more thing, oh, yeah,
That actually should refer to the ball field. The playground isn't big enough for it. Well, the playground is.
right.
So strike playground and put ball field. Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. And one more thing, the last paragraph of that page, when it's talking about the bed and breakfast, or by developing it and selling it, I think by renovating it and selling it makes more sense. I don't, it's up to you.
This is on page 4, the
Yes.
last paragraph.
Yeah, last paragraph.
Okay,
And I don't know if we need to add that Song asked HPC to encourage the planning department to support their idea, and that's why Tom Watsberger started talking, or if we need to include that or not for clarity.
Okay, once again,
before Tom Vatsberger, you want to put a clause there?
If you think it's
Brace.
helpful.
Okay, okay. So
I'll take care of all that.
we'll make you the official checker of our
No,
minutes.
everything else has been fine. It was just, this one I just had a couple.
typos that I want to correct also, so I'll just redo this and get it to you.
Great. Okay, so with those amendments, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Administrative items. Next meeting, March 25th, Tuesday, March 25th. Does that agree with all of us? Okay,
Yes,
good.
Yes.
Membership update from myself and Jeff. We had a meeting with the mayor last week to talk about a possible replacement for Christina Tracy. And nothing was resolved, but we gave him several names, and he had some suggestions as well, and he talked about the process, which I believe, as I understand it, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, he would appoint somebody that would come in the summer or the fall.
I believe he said that after May, I think June would be the first meeting set
So,
for the new member. Yeah.
okay, so we won't have anyone until at least May or June.
And they would they be finishing her term, or is that the end of her term
Christina,
and starting a new one?
she resigned, as I understand it, she resigned immediately, correct?
Right.
Yep.
Right. Did she have a full year left, or a part of a year, or would the new person fulfill the rest of her term, or would they be starting a new term?
That's a good question.
Like, when do the terms fall? I assume in the fiscal year, but
I don't know.
I don't remember.
The mayor showed us the list. I'm sure we can find it somewhere. I'll clarify.
Yeah, I think it
For
was
the minutes.
May 31st of 2026 for Christina's
So
term
the
so-
new
ending.
member would be finishing out a year of her term.
Right, and it has to be a downtown owner.
Right.
And the mayor will make a recommendation, and the city council has to approve it.
Correct. And also Jeff accepted renewing, so thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. We also discussed the possibility of enlarging the membership of the HPC. It would have to be enlarged by 2 more members. And I don't feel like the mayor was opposed to that, but we didn't get a commitment on whether that could happen or not. So we'll have to talk about that some more. I think most importantly is getting the fifth member appointed as soon as we can, of course. Mayor spoke very thankfully about our work as a committee. He praised the many projects, especially our sign project, and wanted me to carry that back to the commission. So I was pleased to hear that. Okay, any other thing about that meeting, Jeff?
Well, we also discussed South Main School, and he mentioned a possibility that he's aware of, but at this point,
Right.
we still need to hear from him about that. He's going to check into it.
Okay, Planning Department Annual Report. Heather, before she gives us the report, I just want to thank Heather. I went through this very briefly. I don't know, how many pages? 40 or 60 pages?
40.
It's pretty impressive, and I can't imagine how many hours it took. So thank you so much, Heather, for writing up a great report about the planning department.
Oh, you're welcome. And I brought one copy for you all to look at because, again, it's 40 pages, so I didn't want to make all those copies. And I also emailed it to you so you can look at it at your leisure. But I just wanted to kind of give you highlights of 2024 for the planning department. And so you can see that, of course, Historic Preservation Commission is part of what we do, but there's many, many other things that are within the, I guess you'd say, the task of the planning department. Zoning permits are one of those largest things we do. But I gave you or highlighted some pages where it talks about the Historic Preservation Commission. So your actions, of course, are on page 24. I tried to include your strategic plan and the efforts and actions that has occurred with that. And I think just with the sign project alone, that was a lot. And then the North Maple District was a big part of that strategic plan. And then just added some pictures because, pictures are always fun for reports to be able to see the activities in person. So those are basically what I wanted to highlight. And then, of course, the Historic Preservation Commission, part of the future land use plan and the community action plan. So that recommendation to have the commission, the actions of the commission have really been fulfilled. And anyways, that was pretty much it. I'm not going to read all that. That's beyond what I think we need to cover in the meeting. But if you have any questions later on, let me know.
Great. Any questions right now?
No, it looks really good.
Okay. Thank you. Strategic plan, we have this on the agenda to review. We try to do this annually. I'm not sure we did it last year, but I think we're supposed to. So you all have a copy, I think, that I sent, and Heather had that included also in the attachment with the planning
Yeah. This one here.
department. Yeah. So if we can just go through this quickly and see if there's things that we need to consider for the future, if we need to revise this strategic plan. This was put together in 2022, so it's 3 years now. The plan is intended to guide and focus most HPC activities during the stated period. It should be understood that the stated goal is not an end for the commission. Eventually, as soon as it seems reasonable, we hope to be able to add more historic Bowling Green to the proposed Bowling Green Historic District, especially the Main Street area now enrolled on the National Register. The goal is to achieve City Council approval of listing the existing Boomtown area, possibly with small additions. Project strategies, gaining an endorsement from the mayor. Heather has put check by these things that we have done. And that's checked, as well as the listing of Boomtown area. Now, Heather, we haven't actually listed this yet. It's not registered, right? So the check mark means that what?
For me, it was more the progress of that,
Okay.
and I put a note by there, listed first, local historic district.
Okay, right. Gaining endorsement from the mayor, which we had in 2022. Listing 2 or more city buildings, and listed in 2022 was the police building and the Wood County Courthouse. Receiving council approval for listing mini Bowling Green, MINI, Bowling Green Historic Districts from the Boomtown area on our local register. And we have done so with the North Maple Street district. Receiving council approval of as many individual historic buildings as possible for listing on the local register. How many have we listed now? Do we?
2, I think 318 is at Court Street. House-wise. And then
328.
328, and then 503 Buttonwood.
So 2,
2.
okay.
Thank you.
Completing an HPC inventory of buildings in the Boomtown area and Main Street with help from community and the creation of friends. We did create a group of friends. We appreciate some of them are here today. Community workshop on the inventory process. We created a guide which is on the website. Hire workers using grant money. That we have not been able to do at this point. Number 6, arranging positive and frequent publicity and education about historic buildings and districts. And that's our sign project. It's got a big check mark. Number 7, developing community acceptance and enthusiasm for ideas of historic districts. Meeting with community groups, we've done many of those. Media recognition, regular media coverage of HBC. Public hearings, local destination, tell your story session held at Juniper. City roundtable with prominent community leaders. We have not done that, but we could consider it. Promotional projects such as Historic House or Building of the Month, and that's a continuing and very successful project. And then the placement of plaques or signs, which were installed July 2024. So that was the strategic plan. We can be thinking about, I don't know that we need to go into it in detail today, but if we want to amend or add to the strategic plan, maybe we could all be thinking about that and propose items as they come up.
And it may be like for number 3, like the mini district, maybe to look at proposing another district like North
Another
Maple.
small,
If there's interest from some homeowners on it in a certain street, maybe that could be a starting point.
okay. Good. Anything else? Jeff, Heidi?
I guess that would be another step on the way to the goal under A, listing the existing Boomtown area, possibly with small additions. North Main, or North Maple is both part of that Boomtown area and an addition at this point, so.
Well, when I was looking at the National Register of Historic Places and the map that it covers, I was surprised that on West Wooster that it doesn't include the old county detention home and some of the craftsman houses on that same block, on that same side of the street. So back then in the 80s, when it was originally designated, those houses were, probably around 50 years old. So they wouldn't have considered those as, maybe, I don't know what the reason was for not including them, but maybe I'll look at that.
So that would be a place to start, perhaps, either for individual listings for those buildings you've identified, or,
Or just having them included in the historic register.
portion.
Would we want to have?
Because like if you look, this is a map of it, it kind of excludes the side of the street. And if I'm looking at it right.
I should bring, I've got the big maps, the blueprint one. I didn't bring it.
I guess we would want to decide which is more pressing for us, that is to make the local designations or to get the national designations first.
Yeah,
But it might be hard to get a local designation of those houses or that building if it's a commercial building and getting the owner involved.
Right,
So
right.
might be pushback on that. So if they're a national register, that'd be expanding the map.
You can amend the National Register.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah, that was one of the sessions I
Thank you.
sat through at Heritage Ohio. Not saying it's easy. You likely need new building surveys or property inventories for all those. But it is a very odd-shaped map district.
okay, well, put that on hold for now. We'll consider it, okay? Any other quick ideas?
No.
Okay, let's leave that for the moment. I do want to, I know it's on the, not on the administrative items, but I'd like to add a brief discussion, if we could, if everybody's agreeable, about the FAQs. And we had some suggestions from one of our residents from the North Maple area. And I'm wondering if we could just go through those quickly and see if there's anything that should be added to the current FAQs.
Yeah, I have some suggestions and I'm trying to find where I put the FAQs. Oh, yeah, there.
This was a message to Heather from Rachel Phipps and from Will Earhart, dated December 5th, 2024. It should be in the packet there somewhere.
It's like,
Yeah.
So is it okay if we go ahead and
Yes.
just talk about this for a moment?
Yep.
I'm going to read each of the items that Will has asked about, and we can decide if it's appropriate to add another item in the FAQs. His first one, I have an existing exterior lighting fixture that is damaged and I want to replace it.
I don't see any issue with that, and I think it's well addressed in the
I think
in the
our,
questions.
I think our FAQs already cover that we don't.
I think the FAQs cover most of these, and maybe just pointing out where their answers are found would be helpful.
and I think when you look in the ordinance, you know, in 158.08, it goes through quite a few of the
Most of
things.
these
already-
are in the ordinance.
Some things definitely require a COA,
Yeah.
you know,
And
but
most things wouldn't, but it just might be helpful to clarify where it's addressed already.
I know replacing a front porch would require a COA,
one
correct?
thing I was thinking from this list was even maybe making a list instead of a FAQ, be like, here is specific things, you know, I mean, it'd be like an encyclopedia of like, we want to replace a light fixture that's damaged, you know, and say, not required, or, you know. And it'd be like a list of all the things we can think of for someone to go through, whether it's alphabetic or something, but someone could go through that list. Like here, as you read through this, you'll see some of the ones that to me could be on the list, because they're not really, when you read 15808, it's a little vague on some things. I mean, it doesn't get into the very specifics on something, you know?
So
So I
we-
could see where an owner would have a question about, you know, I want to do something, and it's like front door. It does talk about screen door, it does talk about partial repair of the door, but it doesn't say in the ordinance say about replacing the door? At least I could see.
Well, I think that some of those are covered in our FAQs, like question number 14. What examples of exterior work are not regulated? So all general maintenance needs such as masonry, paint touch-up, repair of existing roofing, partial replacement of windows, siding, fences, door hardware will not be regulated. So, I mean, you could expand that. I would think that
Yeah.
would cover doors. So,
Or even moving that towards the end and make a long list. Increase the list, and we could keep adding to it as people question things.
So, I mean, it could take the form of an index that we could
Yeah.
add to the FAQs with references to the,
It may be like that, moving that question 14 at the end and have it like,
all the things you possibly think of that are
yes,
not.
everything. Yep.
Yeah, that would probably be helpful.
Because it's sort of like in
I have
the,
to dig through all the questions to find the answers. And
in the ordinance, it talks about individual owners having pre-meetings with the commission before they get involved in doing a COA. And so it's sort of like that. To me, it would be maybe kind of answer some of those, and that they wouldn't even need to get with us. It would be like if they got with us and say, I've got this exterior light fixture, and I want to do something with it. Well, maybe if it's on that list.
I think we need to be, I can't imagine we could have 100 of these, and would that be
No.
useful? I think that would be not overreaching, but just nobody would look at it. At least I wouldn't.
No, I think having it as a list versus like FAQs, we don't want, a bunch more FAQs. To me, it'd be like
Yeah.
a list of, where COAs are required or not required.
I think the two things I took from this that we could consider really seriously in an FAQ is replacing a front porch
Right.
or replacing my metal siding. I mean, I don't think we really
And
talked
to
about.
me, some of those would be a COA would be required.
I'm saying that
change
they would require.
Would be required, yes. Yeah.
But the other ones, for the most part, would not.
A good question was that I want to put up a little free library in my front yard. I thought, whoa,
Yeah, what do you think of that?
legally, they probably could put one in.
yeah,
It's probably freedom of speech. I don't know.
yeah, I would see. I don't know why that would come to us. It's freestanding and temporary,
And it's, not
not permanent.
Not part of the architecture.
No. We're not going back in time and trying to make a streetscape as it was when it was built. As far as the porch goes, I mean, that's kind of covered in questions 15 and 16. When replacing exterior non-historic deteriorated wooden architectural feature or
Yeah.
major reconstruction of a front porch. And what I think we need to consider, and I always have questions of like, what are we trying to accomplish, like when we have our certificates of appropriateness? I reviewed the Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historic properties. Rehabilitation is our standard, as quoted in our documents and stuff. So it's not necessarily like they could build something brand new. They could use materials. They don't have to make it look like it was when the house was built. Do they make it look like that porch they're replacing? Do they could make it completely modern? That's kind of like what we would have to decide. It's all kind of arbitrary and there's no complete standard, like it has to be like, and I just wanted a clarification if we want to discuss that now as we look at future potential.
perhaps
ways.
just make clear that that is the purpose of the discussion with the commission, that we would work together to,
With,
rather than dictating something.
with the owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious where you guys were, without having a specific place or property in mind, what is our kind of general idea of what we want to see
I could see adding things like that would, maybe a house back in the, early 1900s didn't have a porch, and other ones did, that maybe look at the ones that did to, if you're going to make one, try to make it look similar to
So do you
the
thi-
time.
So you think we should try to make it look like it was when
I
it was
think so,
built?
personally.
Or,
Because I think if you don't, then if you did it really modern, take a house on East Worcester, West Worcester, and you took and put up a really modern looking fancy porch,
so
I
we're,
think would be kind of look odd.
but that's more of a subjective opinion though, instead of like
I was
the,
just thinking architecturally, it would look better to have
right, but
something
that's,
that you couldn't tell that porch got added in 2025. It looked like it was been there all its life.
well, I think that's where we might come up with an issue with the potential owners, because the historic preservation specifically says do not make additions look like exactly like back in time to make them
I don't
look.
think we said that you should not, but you don't have to. Wasn't that more of the wording? I would have to look back on it. Yeah.
It's just a philosophical thing that we'll get into when we have an exact example, but it's more of
Yeah,
a,
and
like,
I'm sure we will be having that down the road. so-
yeah.
North Maple.
So we need to be a little bit prepared for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to get prepared ahead of time. Like form, proportion, all that sort of stuff is important. We've seen obviously there are bad additions and good additions. It'll be up to us to kind of like guide, but not dictate
That's right,
and
okay.
make an
That's what I'm
owner
thinking.
do something that we like personally,
Just-
rather than,
Yeah.
No, that's,
Their
mine
own-
would be suggestions or
yeah,
guidance.
guidance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but no, not dictating.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as Will Earhart's list, we're suggesting here, I think I'm hearing that you say that we should make a larger list with what our feelings are from the commission. So the existing lighting fixture that's damaged, I want to replace it. We would say, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not okay. I mean, is that kind of what you're suggesting? Go down the list and add more of these kind of things so that the property owners would have a better guide? No, not suggesting that. Good. Do we need to respond to Will on this? I don't think we have we? Heather, has there been any,
No.
okay.
It might be helpful to respond personally, email, checking off all these and telling him where you could find the answers to them, like the first 4 questions, you don't need a COA. The report, yes, it's addressed in question 15 and 16. Replace my front porch, it's addressed in number 13. The trees, the landscaping, those are like in 18. The fence is in 13. I want to paint my house. It's covered in question 14, so it just, I know he wants, it's things that are basically things that are temporary, like swings and lighting fixtures and doors. We shouldn't have a say on that.
Absolutely
We
not.
don't suggest that we do. So if it's a permanent structure, yes. If it's not a permanent structure, no. People down the road might want clarification of like the metal. I want to replace my metal siding. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So
That's
we want to
like,
clear.
COA.
Yeah, that's covered in 13. So we can say, I don't know if we can clarify saying you can change it to a like material. You can replace it with metal siding. We shouldn't dictate they have to go out and buy something more expensive, but they can't get something cheaper or less quality if we want to go in that direction. But we can't say, I don't think we should dictate like, no, you have to have a historically accurate, rip off the metal siding and go
Trying to
to
keep the-
something more expensive. We can't ask them to do
No.
something more expensive because it's creating a hardship on their own property. It's their
So as our two architects, would one of you be willing to do something simple in answering his questions?
You've got them all.
Annotated.
Yeah, you already.
Yep.
One we haven't addressed yet that also could go in, now I've lost track again already. In answer 14, or frequently asked question 14 is about the gutters. We found out last meeting that the state office regards gutters as not requiring approval.
Okay.
So we could actually add that, I think, to
Just to the FAQs?
14.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I would think that would be helpful. Not to belabor this, like question FAQ 9. Sorry, I made notes like a month ago and I'm trying to remember what I was doing.
What are we looking at here, Heidi? Number 9?
I'm trying to make sure I'm, so question FAQ 9 on page 3 is talking about non-contributing properties. A certificate, a COA for major exterior work would still be required, but be more lenient. So I thought we might define examples of major exterior work, such as adding doors or fences.
Okay, let's make a note of that. Define more carefully.
Perhaps somewhere in here, add any non-permanent, non-structural elements such as painting, gutters, basketball hoops, little libraries, that kind of thing. Lighting, doors, swings do not need COAs. Landscaping, for trees, bushes, fences. Fences already need a zoning permit, so they don't really need a COA. Like I said before, just defining permanent structures versus non-permanent structures.
Okay, I'm going to move on, but Heidi, if you would just maybe draft something simple, and if you want to send it directly to Will, or you send it to me and I can send it on.
You're good at it. You got a good handle on it.
Oh, okay,
Well, yeah, you can amend it. I'll make suggestions and then you can.
Yeah, it may be
That's
good
it.
if it comes from the commission.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
comes from all of us. Okay, thank you. Number 4, local designations, buildings of interest. So the former South Main School, update, we don't have any other updates except for discussion with the mayor.
Yeah, which at this point is, I can say promising, but we have no details.
Other possible sites, we keep putting this in, and I think we should continue to. The old windmill, the Hannah House, former Corner Grill, and Clazel Theater, things that some of us are concerned about, and possibly these are buildings which could be put on our register, our national or local register.
Do we want to nominate any of them for Historic Buildings of the Month first? Because then we would have collected some of the information. I noticed that the article about 416 West Wooster was useful, I think, for the application for that property, so any wishes there, what should be,
I think all of them.
all of them, yeah.
Yeah. We have not done a building of the month or house of the month with the Clazel yet, have we?
No,
That
but
should-
we have information from the sign
Right,
project.
right. Yeah,
That might be the first one.
I think those are all really good buildings to consider. Starting with Clazel, okay. Jeff is our specialist on buildings of the month.
I touched a little on the old windmill in my research for the Royce building because the people who lived in the Royce house on West Wooster after the Royces were connected with the engineering company that built that and originally owned the quarry, the pond there. So,
Yeah.
and they also built those stone apartments across the street from the windmill, so. I can't think of the name of the family, but. So that could be maybe a second one.
Clearsdale and then Old Windmill. Okay, good.
Hannah House we've already had, of course.
And the Corner Grill. That's such an iconic part of Bowling Green, and I'd hate to see it go, but it's sitting idle as far as I know. Okay, request for local historic designation number 5.
Excuse me, may I?
Yeah,
I think historical plaques are next, the discussion of
did I miss something?
the materials we had in the packet about having people whose houses have been designated either as part of the district or individually have the possibility of getting a plaque for mounting on the house. Isn't that what that refers to?
Yes, so I don't have any major updates. I did talk to the company that does the plaques for the Cleveland Landmark Commission. They gave me a higher price. They did say they could do all kinds of designs, whatever we want. So that's as far as I got. I talked to our finance director, and she thought it was all possible. I just need to get some other quotes and talk to other companies to see it'd be nice to have somebody local, but we know this is kind of a specialized product that it's not always easy to do. So I am still working on this.
Thank you. But that model of us having them order the signs through us, that
Yes, that's
that,
fine. Mhm.
was fine with the financial director, okay.
Okay, thank you. So, local historic designations, 625 Haskins. Will, you had something?
Yes, on that, the current, or the past owner, she lives there, and she is going to be moving into assisted living. So her son, who lives in Florida, and daughter that lives in Columbus, they're the owners. I think she deeded it to them. So it kind of, instead of moving forward without getting in contact with them, I thought I would need to not do that. So I was in contact with the son and sent him a copy of the ordinance. And we've talked a couple times. He was very busy, he didn't call back. I called him yesterday to see if they had decided, and if he had talked to his sister, and they hadn't. So we want to move it to March meeting then, and I'll have a decision from them. But kind of the question with them was whether to do the site only or the site and house. And the site for sure, but house is kind of questionable. You know, it's not really as fancy architecturally as the houses on Worcester, but it is historic because it did sit here. And I did look at the Sanborn maps, and if you look at there was buildings here right off of Oak Street that sat here, the maps, and I didn't bring them. I'll bring them for the next meeting, but there's, I think, like an 1888 or 93, and then there's one in the middle that shows there's 3, and then the 1915 map, they're gone, and I believe they're gone, but the post office is here. And the problem with the 1950 map, it's a different scale. So you can't overlay it and go like, wow, it's sitting exactly where it's a different scale, but you can still see where Oak Street, I believe, went on through over here. And so when I scaled it from the little scale that's on the map, you know, us architects know how to copy those kinds of things, and you cut it and, you know, and used it against the map then to see. And I scaled the little building that was the farthest north, and it's scaled about what that house does. So I measured the house when I was there a couple weeks ago, and so I'm believing that was the house. The son says it was moved. He says he heard, they don't have anything to document. He said he heard it was rolled on logs. They moved it on logs. But I don't know where he got that story from, maybe family, but his father apparently, I think father or grandfather did a lot of work on the house, like foundation wise and stuff. But I've talked to him about the concerns because I'm not sure whether they'll put the house up for sale or what they want to do, because I doubt if they're going to move there. And so I was kind of suggesting maybe site only. You know, because architecturally, I'm not sure the house is, yes, it was part of the old history of BG, but architectural features, it's not, you know, real fancy. And whether to put restrictions on a next owner, and it may hinder them selling the house to an owner.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the next owner might want a modified house because it's, you know, it'd be nice to add on and keep, it's in pretty good shape.
Well, if we just went with site only, what restrictions would there be then for that property?
don't think
Probably
any.
none, right?
No, I think it's worthy of the
It's
site.
just
for sure.
worthy of our designation.
Martindale, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the site map that you saw, the current garage, it looked like the cabin was behind
It-
it. So
yeah,
it's not
and
even on
she's-
top of it. So if we just say, don't build anything on top of the old cabin site, just in case.
I
someone
asked her
wants
if
to
they
do-
had looked there, and she's got a little thing on the wall that's got things they found there. She said they found toys and things like that, but I don't know whether it's from the Martindales or,
Yeah.
but supposedly it's sat, I think, like the map showing, probably behind the garage.
Yeah, I like that idea of just doing the site and not the house.
And I
because-
talked to her, the current owner, or the past owner, but the current resident, about a sign out by the Haskins Road, and she was thought that was a really good idea. So I don't think that'll be hard to sell to the son and daughter.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially
and
if
at some point putting
There's no restrictions.
No.
I can't imagine.
So my thoughts with that I've been talking to the son, Paul, about, you know, definitely moving forward with the site for sure. And then see what their feelings are about the house.
Good.
I'm going to let them make the decision, but
Okay. So we'll
so
po-
put on the
postpone
March,
that-
on the March
postpone that
agenda.
until
Yep.
March. Good. Thank you. The other home that we're looking at is 416 West Worcester, owned by Anissa Miller. And Heidi's been working on this with some pictures, which came from, where did they come from? Heather, from you?
Yeah.
Some very nice shots.
Nice work. Thank you.
So Heather, do you want to discuss this and present?
Heidi.
Heidi, sorry.
I keep intermixing.
My twin sister's name is Heather. Oh no! Whenever we get emails, Heidi and Heather, I'm like, ah. Yeah. So I did research based on started with the article, and then I got a lot of great help from Jeff, some more research,
And from Dick,
and from Dick, and from Anissa, and so it was a lot of collaboration. I just kind of wrote it all up. I did research in the McAllister handbook, looking at specific styles and names and tracing the style and all that sort of stuff. So it was very fun. Not fun. I mean, it was fun. It was very interesting. The only thing I would say, I appreciate all the maps and all the information. Would it be helpful to have the survey map that Tom Votsberger and Anissa submitted with their application, and in addition to the auditor's map, just because the auditor's map is sort of 3D and the survey map is more 2D, and I anticipate this application would be helpful to use when they go to apply for historic tax credits. So if it's all kind of in one package, that would be, just make it a little bit easier.
Well, it's part of the permanent record.
Yeah.
It's part of their application. So do you mean just screenshot the survey and put it in the?
Yeah, just put it
Okay.
with the application, if it's not too much trouble. It's nice because it has numbers on it.
one thing that was very interesting in the work you and Dick Martin and I did together was going from the vague 1860s or 1870s as a date of construction to we're as positive as we can be that it was 1888. And you found it then on the 1888 aerial map.
The Sanborn.
And at first I didn't
Well,
recognize
I
it
didn't
as the,
either. Yeah, I thought it had to be after that because it didn't look like the building that's on that 1888 map, but that is skewed. It's not to scale and
and it's possible it wasn't even fully built by the time.
by that
Because
time.
they seem to have made that map late in the year because there are a couple of glass factories on that map that hadn't opened yet,
Okay.
but they're on the map, yeah.
Well, and I was in Middletown and they had a similar map of their town, a similar year. So I think it must have been a trend across the country. Those types of 2D,
Census.
aerial types of maps. So yeah, and then you finding all those articles confirming like the delivery of the bricks in 1880 and all the
Dick
newspaper
helped with that.
articles. And I was like, wow, just confirmation after. So that's cool.
So I think we're ready to move forward. The next, well, we need to, I guess, take a vote on this, but then we will need to have a public hearing scheduled.
I think you just need to schedule the public hearing, so you'll vote after your public hearing.
I'm sorry?
You would vote after the public hearing, so set the public hearing,
Then
and then you would vote
Oh, right.
Okay.
for the next meeting. But I have one question. So we make sure the property inventory form is as finalized as possible. So you'll know at the very bottom, we have to mark if it's contributing or non-contributing. So would you say it's contributing?
Yes.
Okay.
What's cool about this building is it hasn't been added on to on the outside. So unlike some of our other properties that have been altered
Yeah,
beyond.
most of them, right?
Sort of by default or neglect, it's
Yeah.
very original condition.
Woodward.
I mean, things on the back have been altered, but things on the front, pretty much, it's pretty old.
So can we do that public hearing at next meeting? Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Great. So let's plan for that.
I think the property inventory form looks really good. I think it serves as a good example for future ones. I like the descriptions at the details, like instead of just the photographs like I've done on some of them. I like the description that was added on this one.
Well, photos don't always stay,
No.
in history, as we've seen.
The details on the inside too, even though that's not part of, what we control or anything, but it really adds to the inventory.
Okay,
Good.
great, thank you. I'm looking at the wrong agenda, so can I borrow your agenda for a second? Friends of HPC, February Royce Building, March and April. Actually, I'll just let you talk about this, Jeff. Did you
Okay.
set that up?
For March and April, we're going to have our first set of installments because we got this wonderful article from Leanne Snook, who is one of the current owners of 315 West Worcester and has been for over 35 years. But she did a very nice article in 1989 about her house, both historical and personal. So I pretty much kept that, added a few things out for length and to update it slightly, and got her approval of that. And so that will be for the next 2 months. For May, in the meantime, we have gotten, or I propose it for May, an article from the owners of what I'm now calling the Herman House because it was built by Leo Herman for himself. He was a noted contractor. He, for example, built the old bank building here. Well, it was new when he built it, and several other, lots of churches in Ohio, And and also the men's gymnasium on campus, which is now Epler South. So they did a very nice article about it that included both history and architecture, and also it ends with the story of the shootout that took place in front of it that Dick Martin noted on one of his historical signs. So I'm really pleased and excited that we have for the next 3 months articles coming from the owners themselves. We're looking forward to September. We've already noted that the Wood County District Public Library will be celebrating its anniversary, 100th anniversary then, so we will feature them there. We've talked with the owners of, is it 125? No, it's got to be 325 North Main, the old Lincoln House, and that will probably be in October. They're planning a Halloween party, and that might be connected with that. And another thing that I think I mentioned last time that I could prepare for June or July, depending on how other things develop, is an article about the neighborhood markets throughout Bowling Green. I got some good information from Todd Wagoner about that. He and friends of his who are known as the Barn Bums out at the museum, as I noted last time, had collected a list of them, and I've started to look at them in the directories and phone books to see how long they were stores, who owned the stores, what they were called, and so forth. One is right across from the old, where the Heinz plant was, so it's obviously, a neighborhood store for that. The last one that I still experienced was the North Grove carryout. And we called it the smoke store because the owners seemed to smoke on the job. But it was the last neighborhood market that I know of here. But there are lots of them. Lots of them.
So for markets, you mean like a little store?
Yeah, a little grocery store.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What-
Did you mention the one on North Grove?
Yes. Yeah. Mhm. That one was still in business in my
mine-
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there when I moved in,
Yeah.
and then it switched over to a house or something.
Yeah, no, it's a house. And you can often tell from the structure.
Mm-hmm.
There's one on South Prospect that you can tell was originally a store building. There was a fish market on North Summit. Some of these I still have to track down, but I'll probably have to go for the most interesting ones or the ones that you can still identify the buildings. But it should be an interesting and fun project. Because when I grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan, and in the 1960s, there were, I can think of 3 of those neighborhood stores that went out of business just about at the end of the 60s. We used to go and get bubble gum and things.
That's great. Thank
So I
you.
do have copies if you want to see what we did for March and April. And then we have the one that he mentioned for May. I just need a picture of 155 South Prospect.
Right. I need to get that.
It's too bad we couldn't have a historical one or could find one.
Yeah, the owners of the, what I once called the Crazy Brick House at the corner of South Prospect, the Herman House, the current owners, Thuros and, I forget the husband's name, but they weren't able to find an old picture, and I looked and wasn't able to find an old picture of that house, which is kind of strange because it was built, it's a remarkable house in the first place. It was built by a noted builder, and it was designed by the same architect that designed St. Al's. I forgot to mention that. I'm going to keep looking, but if anybody comes across one or thinks of a way to find out, I put it under the architect's name, under the builder's name, and the address and so forth, and couldn't find anything yet.
When was that built?
1926, the same year as the bank. So Leo Herman was at the peak of his career, I think, in 1926.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Sounds great. Moving on, public relations and educational projects. Past workshops, events, the Wood County Museum, First Free Fridays, and Make It and Take It craft that happened on February 7th. Future workshops, Wood County District Public Library, Behind the Stacks, the history of WCDPL, March 10th, 2 to 3. Wood County Museum, First Fridays and Make It and Take It craft, March 7th. That's all that I think that we had listed from Heather.
If I could add something, I was invited again to do a Lively You course at the senior center. And so I've decided to do local history through local buildings, through historic buildings. And I'll pretty much just talk about my work on the buildings of the month. I have 3 sessions starting next week on the 4th,
Very good.
and then one in April and one in May, always the first week on a Wednesday. If Wednesday is the 4th, is that right?
When did you say the
Yeah.
word?
Oh, no, it's the 5th, excuse me.
March
It's
5th.
always on Wednesday, the first Wednesday in March, April, and May. And it's at 2 in the afternoon. I should know this because it's me. Let me look it up here,
Great.
be sure. And I expect to learn as much as I teach or more, because I think people who are interested in that will come and have a lot to say, I hope. And be perhaps even more, it wouldn't be hard to be more versed in the research, people like Dick Martin and Hal Brown.
What time was that?
The shame, it's at 2:00 for an hour.
Yeah, I did something similar last year and it
Yeah.
had a good crowd. And unfortunately, I had to not do the second tour part of it, but because I was sick. But you'll have a good crowd. I'll have to come back you up.
I'm a senior, so I might go to that.
Like, can I come too?
I don't know that you qualify.
Come.
You can.
But I could
As a
go.
guest,
I could go.
we could bring it as a guest.
Please feel free to come, even if you don't sign up or they don't let you sign up.
I'll just show up.
Okay, final item, Historic Preservation Month in May. That's coming rather fast, and if we're doing projects, we need to get on top of that. Tell your history homes, what do we call that again, Heather?
History lives here, the yard signs.
We're doing that again, yes?
I'm asking you all, are we doing that again? Then I just need to go.
I think we should,
Okay.
I think it's been
I
successful.
think so too.
yeah. No, I think that's a great project. We had just brainstormed a little bit last time, and maybe we can spend just a couple minutes thinking of other ideas if we want to have special projects sponsored by HPC.
I think you mentioned the pedal bike tour last month, so I thought I would go ahead and ask Dick Martin if he'd be willing to reach out since he already has the contact there and has done it before. Maybe he just does it, one time in May.
Yeah, I know that was a pretty popular event last
Like
year.
16 stops, 16 signs.
Yeah. I had some other ideas, but I don't know where my ideas are now.
I listed them in the minutes.
One was having a Shakespeare reading by the Shakespeare Club in the Carter House. I don't know if we can pull that off, or it would be,
There you go. Yeah, the jazz thing.
yeah, thank you. But Jan Knapp is part of that, and maybe we can twist her arm to organize that. A community jazz band concert in the Claysdale Theater, and I could, if we want to do that, I can help organize it. And we had a possible gift from Juniper for, what was that for? A scavenger hunt involving historic signs. So those were some of the ideas we had from last. Maybe in our lobby visitation, our friends will have better ideas or some ideas for us. Okay, but we do need to stay on top of that. Next month is March. That's like 2 months before May, so. I
And
think
speaking
we
of
should-
that, we also, I forgot to mention, we'll have a radio slot like we have the last 2 years. So I don't know if any of you want to do that with me. I can send you the date tomorrow. I think it's the 4th Friday of April.
I can do that again with you if you want.
Okay, great.
Unless Heidi might want to do it.
I don't know. What do you do?
This one in and radio station.
Talk to Clint
WBG.
Corp.
You could both do it.
Clint asked questions and,
Yeah.
Sure.
or you could go too.
We could both go.
We'll go. Yeah, we all three could go.
Yeah, I don't have to go if you two want to go.
I think you're good though. You added a lot about the commission. You're a must.
Okay, any other business? We have lobby visitation. Anybody have things to share? No? You're just here for support.
Entertainment.
Entertainment.
We need your support. Thank you.
One more thing, I think Jamie emailed you the latest Revitalize Ohio publication from Heritage Ohio. Just wanted to make sure you got that, and I have a copy if anybody wants to see it.
Great. Thank you. All right, well, world's record, we are about to adjourn. It's 5 after 5. Any volunteers to call for adjournment?
I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
A second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are.